a law of vibration, and that's understanding that everything vibrates. Nothing is ever still. Everything is dynamic and always moving. That Mother Earth is the most beautiful thing ever. We've been through a part of chaos, but chaos is necessary to step into a new form of order. Understanding that pain is your guru. Pain, I feel, is there to help us understand ourselves deeper. The lens that I look at life through begins at my thoughts. Joe Dispenza says it well. He says that a thought turns into a feeling turns into an emotion turns into a mood turns into a temperament turns into our personality, and our personality is our personal reality. And to me, the ultimate realization is that this is heaven. Yeah. We're just conditioned not to see that.
Wow. I was disillusioned by the education system as a boy, and I felt like my greatest strengths were treated as behavioral issues. And at about the age of 14, I found myself inside of 3 different schools within 9 months. I ended up dropping out of high school at around 16.
Unless we radically reform the school system of the United States, radically reform them, unless we somehow prepare them for citizenship because they're not prepared now, the future of this country, both politically and economically, is seriously in question.
We now live in a new world and require a new paradigm of education. So I've taken my education into my own hands, and I'm traveling the world seeking out my own mentors, teachers, and experiences to build my own self-directed and self-determined education. Follow me as I seek an education in the world.
You did this like mentorship program, and then I guess you've gone on to from then to develop your own work, and I guess what areas of holistic health are you most interested in? Where do you see your biggest sort of contribution?
Yeah. For me, what I really feel are part of my gifts lie in the understanding that both the physical and the energetic are merged as one, and that they're not separate to each other. For me, so much of my energy and time and what I love sharing is all about how our mental, emotional, spiritual component of us has such an influence on our physical body. And if we can grasp an understanding of that, I feel like we can work with the body more and more towards its potential. We can work with our mind more towards its potential. We can have a freer, more embodied experience with whatever we're doing. But yeah, merging those two is what I feel I'm kind of here to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think from a young age, I got interested when I started, or I had people show me that there was the laws that govern one area of life. There was a set of laws that also govern other areas, and that there was a set of universal laws, and what was true in the body was also true in the mind. And I remember that was such a big breakthrough for me. But then he also, took it a step further and said it's the same, with a lot of areas of life, and we can study how to just fix the immediate problems in our lives, or we can seek to kind of understand, these kind of governing laws.
Yeah. I think that they're a foundation for us. I feel like when you understand the universal laws, you understand how to pave a solid base. And I think of a base to a pyramid, for example. if you've got a really solid base and you can build that base to a solid depth and width, then you can build something higher and higher and higher. And with that solid base, building it higher is working towards our potential. And so the way that I think about that, I might use a universal law as one example, and it's one that I'm constantly practicing, observing and witnessing in my life, and it's called the law of resonance. The law of resonance, firstly, is understanding that we exist in a vibrational universe, that everything is moving. There's a law of vibration as a side note, and that's understanding that everything vibrates. Nothing is ever still. Everything is dynamic and always moving. And because everything's always moving and everything's always vibrating, then that's the first insight to living in an energetic universe. And so the law of resonance is all about understanding that, like the laws of chemistry, like attracts like and opposites repel. So if like attracts like, then what I am attracting into my life is giving me insight to what energy I'm holding within me. And so if I notice that I'm attracting a lot of people that take advantage of me, then let's call them vampires.
Yeah.
If I'm noticing that I'm attracting a lot of vampires into my life, then the law of resonance is showing me that I am holding some form of blood donor energy.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's helping me, this universal law helps me to understand that that's what I'm holding inside of me, and it's why I continue to attract what I attract.
Yeah.
Another example could be, let's just say someone cuts me off on the road and they're really frustrated, they're really angry. But then I get really frustrated and really angry at them.
Yeah.
Well, we're resonating together.
Yeah.
We're of the same vibration.
Yeah.
And so it's that person there that's helping to show me what energy I'm holding within myself. So it's almost to the point where it's like, you know, thank you, angry man.
Yeah.
You actually showed me the anger that I hold within myself.
Yeah.
And if we can be conscious of this law of resonance, it's at play every nanosecond of the day. Right now, you and I, we're in resonance with each other.
Yeah.
We're vibrating at a certain frequency that it has resonance because we have similar values.
Yeah.
We enjoy talking about a new education,
Yeah.
and that's what brings us together. And so the law of resonance, it's at work with your partner. It's at work with my kids. You know, I'm in resonance with my kids, and if they trigger me in some way, they're helping me to see what I'm holding inside of myself.
Yeah.
And so by understanding this as a law, you can take responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
If you can start to take responsibility for everything that you create and attract into your life, and you really understand that by taking responsibility, you can step into the doors of greatness.
If somebody comes to you maybe and they're like, they're in pain, they've got like a physical sort of ailment, how do you work this in to like obviously fixing the physical, but how do you work in these ideas on that journey with that person?
Yeah, well, I share something with each of my clients, and it is that pain is your guru. And what I mean by that is that if you're in physical pain, then we need to work with it physically. We need to rehab it. We need to understand the postural components and, you know, how to coordinate your shoulder better, so that you can get back out on the field and start throwing balls again, as one example. That piece there and working on it physically, it's so necessary. As I shared before, there is the energetic component to us as well. Understanding that pain is your guru. Pain, I feel, is there to help us understand ourselves deeper.
Yeah.
I'd like to bridge into the chakra system a little bit to give more understanding to it. chakras are they're our energetic data banks. Okay, so what that means is that between 0 and 7, every child is developing their sense of safety and security. They're developing their understanding of who they are in their family and in their tribe, what their role is and what they play. They're understanding love and how to be acknowledged and accepted. And that's all a development of our base chakra. If I go through these first 7 years of life and they're not really safe, they're not really secure, I've had a childhood that's not too aligned to love, then how I perceive my reality can be very from a place of not feeling secure and not feeling safe. We can move up to the second chakra, which is all about our sense of creativity, and that's developed between 7 and 14, and that's all to do with our sexuality. It's an understanding of how we create things and that we have the power to create. 14 to 21, it's all about our third chakra, which is all to do with our self-esteem, our personal power, our will and our drive. So if we go through certain ages of development and experience different distortions or illusions during that time, then it can negatively influence how we think and feel. If I was bullied between 14 and 21, then it's probably likely that my self-esteem's not as high as it could be. Self-esteem has such a link with gut issues. Self-esteem has such a link with liver issues and adrenal issues. And that all exists around this zone of the body. So I might present myself with gut issues, or I've got lower back pain because I can't get my breath to expand into this place. But it's because I hold a lot of tension here, and I hold tension here because I worry about what other people think of me. So my self-esteem is lacking. And so now, because of my self-esteem, I hold this tension, and now I can't breathe and expand into this place. So now I'm sitting with lower back pain. Then the lower back pain needs to be worked on physically, but there's an energetic component to it. There's a self-esteem issue in this example. And so we have to work in both realms to get the full resolution of that body coming back to its potential and its alignment and feeling free, and for that person to be able to pick up their kids again. We've got to work in both realms.
Yeah, I find that super interesting. The different, the development of the chakras at different ages, and how you were saying that, in order to have an idea and bring it to life, there needs to be it needs to be open, I guess, all the way. Do you want to talk about that?
Every material thing that we see was once just a thought, right? Like this plate, this house here, it was once a thought. When it was once a thought, it had to go through a process of thinking it up, dreaming it up. So the architects of that place had to dream it up. So it goes from thought to light to matter. Everything that has gone through that process we see. It begins as a thought, and it exists, we'll say, up here. This is our it's called our crown chakra, and this space up here, it's like a satellite for bringing in consciousness. We bring in ideas, we bring in thoughts through that satellite. And it moves to this area here, which is our third eye. And if a thought comes in, it'll come into our brain, and our brain will decode that thought. And through that decoding process, it'll sit with whether that is a good idea, whether I like that idea. And if we like that idea, it will continue the journey, and it'll come down to the fifth, which is the throat. And this is where we might start to talk about that idea. We might share that idea with other people and see how they feel about it. If you still feel like it's a good idea after you've spoken about it, it'll come down to here. It'll come down to the heart center. And this is where we'll sit with how that idea feels. Do I feel good with it? Is it going to give me something, but is it also going to give others something?
Yeah.
This is our giving and receiving sitting here. If that idea does, it'll continue down to our solar plexus here, and this is where we'll sit and go, do I have the self-esteem for this? Do I believe that I can do it? Do I have the power? Do I have the belief behind me to ground this idea? And if we don't, the idea will cease and it will never ground itself. But if we do, the idea will continue. The idea will then continue down to the sacral, and this is where we'll sit and we'll contemplate the creative ideas. How am I going to make this happen? Well, I'm going to need this material. I'm going to need these sorts of people. And we have to be really creative about our needs and what we want. If we can conjure it up and create it, it'll continue its journey and it'll come to the base. And this is where we'll contemplate, how does this make me feel in a safety sense? Is it going to cost me too much money?
Yeah.
If it's going to threaten how safe I feel, then the idea will cease.
Yeah.
But if I can sit in trust, or I can attract what it is I want,
Yeah.
and I can, in this zone here, I don't worry too much about what my family thinks about me if I make this choice.
Yeah.
And I'm not so driven by the tribal mentalities of how I've grown up.
Yeah.
And if I can still feel safe in me through that process,
Yeah.
it'll then gain roots and it'll ground itself.
Yeah.
But if that pillar of mine is blocked, or I've been through times where I lack self-esteem,
Yeah.
then any creative ideas that I have will always stop here at the third,
Yeah.
because I don't believe that I can do it.
Yeah.
And so we have to work on this
Yeah.
pillar of ours. We have to work on all of these parts of ourselves so that we're clear and open, and that we can manifest and ground whatever the fuck we want.
So we can create whatever we want with our lives.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so powerful. I think that's such a cool model to think about, because I see in myself and then in people I know where, ideas get stuck along the way. Maybe it's when they first share the idea with someone else and they're unable to find their voice to really express the idea, or it gets shut down straight away, so it never goes any further. I can see it in myself where an idea will come, but there's a fear of safety, of like, is this going to cost me too much? Is this going to, am I willing to let go of this need for safety? To let this thing come out. What does my family, what does my network of people think about this? Yeah, it's even interesting to look at like people who do great things despite resistance at every level. Like you see generally anyone who does something great essentially has to, over a long period of time, has to address challenge at like every single level, from the family, internally, what the outside world says, people shooting down their ideas, but they're able to. So what is that process if somebody's like maybe struggling to bring the things that are in their heart to life, or to bring the ideas to life? How do they address where the actual block is, because it might be unconscious? No, totally.
I think to begin with, that person needs to make a decision. Be decisive. Do you want to ground this idea or not? Because it's your choice. And
most people really don't even think it's their choice whether this thing happens or
not. And so I say that decision making is first, because to decide that you're going to do it that's what cultivates, that's what gets you and the universe co-creating with each other, because you've made a decision to do it. But if you're indecisive about wanting to ground something, then that's what you'll get. You'll get indecision. I actually heard a quote from Bob Proctor, and he speaks about decision making. And he actually shared a story, and he says, it wasn't too long ago that I was in a meeting and we were buying and selling in this meeting. I was the seller and they were the buyer. They asked, after a certain amount of time, we discussed the buying and selling, and it got down to the decision making. And they said, well, Bob, how long do you need to make a decision? He said, I don't need any time. I've made a decision, and it's to sell. And he said, well, we just want to sit with, understanding how much you want for this. And he said, why not just make a decision now? He said, money doesn't come into play when I make a decision. It's whether I want it or not that comes into play.
Yeah.
And I just need to decide whether I want it or not. Because if I decide that I want it, then the money will come. All the money in the universe is available to us, but we just have to make a decision.
Yeah.
It's not monopolized. It can come to us. And if we are someone with a clear channel, we can be someone who can attract the right resources that are needed to ground and manifest our ideas.
Yeah.
We just have to make the decision.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And I think that's the key. And I think along the way of having made that decision, you start to see what might be the block or what might be the distorted thought. So if you're really new to it, as I feel we would both suggest, would be source a mentor, source someone who you feel in alignment with, that's got the scores on the board of part of what you want.
Yeah.
And gain some help. Have the self-reliance to ask for help. And that can help you through what your blocks are.
Yeah.
That can help you get to the specific points that can be getting in your way.
Yeah, it's cool. I love that idea about, once you make a decision, the resources or what you need will come. One of my favorite universal laws is that nothing is ever missing. It's just in an unappreciated or an unloved form.
Yeah.
The wealth is never missing. It's just maybe not in liquid form how you want it right now.
Yeah.
Or a great idea is the soulmate is never missing. It just moves from the one to the many. You might have the soulmate in the form of the one person, or it might be dispersed among many people.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So your vision for we're here at the moment, you've showed us a little bit around the gym area and all the epic stuff you have here, and you're also working on another place down in Kira. What's your vision with these ideas and how you're gonna change the world?
Yeah. No, thanks for asking, bro. We're in the beautiful the Brooklet, and this is the property of my beautiful business partners. We co-create together on beautiful workshops here, high performance training, rehabilitation, and we're also in the process of building a luxury style bathhouse and studio gym. That's happening in Kira. It's a facility that's both work in and work out. That's one of Paul Chek's models, is to support your working out, which is your training, which is your masculine energy. You need to also understand how to work in, which is your feminine energy, and it's all about understanding how to rejuvenate, how to balance yourself and come back to your center. And so the bathhouse is where you work in and rejuvenate your energy, and the studio upstairs is where you work out and where you spend your energy. And to have both of the components, has been a dream of mine for some time.
Yeah, come on. And what's the goal or the effect that you want to have with this sort of place?
It branches out more than just the physical. The bathhouse and the studio represent the physical piece, but there's a big educational part to it as well. I feel like I'm here to help share and continue to learn and be the student myself, but then also share and help to educate people on finding their center, finding their potential, working through these blocks, working on themselves physically, and helping others to strive towards their dreams and unlock their gifts that are unique.
Yeah, I love that. The best teacher is the student.
Yeah.
No, that's exciting. I'm super inspired by what you're doing. Obviously me with my work, I'm in the education space as well, and it's inspiring to see this next this new paradigm of education, where people get to find inspiring leaders like you, shared values, someone who's ahead of them on the journey. So it's exciting to see you creating physical spaces, online spaces, and it's awesome.
It's a pretty cool time to be alive, isn't it? With what you're doing and what I've shared, and it's a really pivotal time right now of change. We've been through a part of chaos. There's still remnants of being in chaos, but chaos is necessary to step into a new form of order. Chaos represents the death, and the order represents the new beginning or the rebirth. I feel like now is a pivotal time of the death of old educational models and the rebirth of something new. Yeah, I'm seeing that with schools that are contacting me and doing workshops on stuff we've been talking about here to 12 to 17-year-olds. And I just think, imagine having that for me at 12 to 17, just what can change, what can unfold. So yeah, we are in a shift, and yeah, it's nice to see people like yourself stepping into that too.
It's amazing because it's like, yeah, in the past, chances are you'd never encounter these sort of ideas. Your average person would never hear these words, you know, so you'd spend your whole life with these things, these maybe physical ailments, but then also these unconscious things, and they would just run your life and you'd never get the answers and you'd never know and you'd die.
Yeah.
Just with like these, you know, but now it's like,
Yeah.
there's more leaders coming up
Yeah.
with this information, and it's like, I can learn from these.
Yeah.
I don't have to be run by the outside world. I don't have to be, you know, I guess predestined to whatever I was born into.
Yeah.
I can change. And
Yeah.
I can grow. And
Yeah. Being too stuck into looking at the shadow of life means that all you'll do is just look at the negativity. You'll just be stuck in looking at what's not good.
yeah, and then you have resonance with that
And
probably.
exactly. Then you'll start, you know, vibrating in that realm, and you'll just attract more of what's not good about life. Joe Dispenza says it well. He says that a thought turns into a feeling turns into an emotion turns into a mood turns into a temperament turns into our personality, and our personality is our personal reality, which means the lens that I look at life through begins at my thoughts. And if my thinking is constantly negative or it's dense, then the lens that I'll look at life through, I could be here in the most beautiful view, but because my thoughts are sitting in density and sitting in the shadow, I won't be connected to the beauty that I see. But if I'm sitting in thoughts that are of gratitude and are of what do I want to create next, or of what do I want to step into, or of complete presence, then through that process I'll get to the personal reality of just seeing the beauty in life. And to me, the ultimate realization is that this is heaven.
Yeah.
We're just conditioned not to see that.
Wow.
And it's about coming back to understanding that our thinking and our feeling is what can begin an understanding that this is heaven. That our Mother Earth is the most beautiful thing ever. So that's where you got to change the thinking.
Yeah, it's so true. I've witnessed that in myself, like traveling, and my experiences they've never really been about the place that I'm in. Like I can be in a beautiful place and not be having a great time, or I can be in I spent a month in, you know, the heart of Palestine with raids and all this crazy shit, but I was having the most amazing experience.
Yeah,
you know, and some of the, you know, the saddest people other than that have been in the most beautiful places in the world. So if you had, you know, one sort of like final message to give, you know, what would it be?
It would be, I'll share how I define success.
Yeah.
Success to me is getting to know myself.
Yeah.
It's understanding as many deeper parts of me that I possibly can. Because the more that I understand myself, the more that I'll understand why I make the choices that I make, which gives me more and more responsibility. And the more a responsible person that I am, the more I take charge of all aspects of what I attract. So I would say that source some way to get to know yourself more. Practice maybe certain rituals. Be someone who journals, who meditates. Be someone who moves their body, who understands the importance of exercise. understand that all of these things that can aid in you getting to know yourself more is the key to your success and the key to all of us co-creating together better. Because if we all co-create better together, then we will unlock that realization that I shared before.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, thanks for sharing.
Thanks,
that was
brother.
awesome.